It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is brand new. Sirius Black from their latest release called Mirror World, and the name of the tune there is called Mirror World. That is the title track from that CD. That's probably one of my favorite songs off this disc. And the guy who knows a little bit about the Mirror World, living in the States as well as touring Europe and doing all kinds of good things, our good friend Urban Breed. What's going on there, Urban?
Hello there. How are you? Doing okay?
Excellent. Well, we had you here on the Classic Metal Show when you released your debut release with Sirius Black, and it didn't take you long to turn around and get a second release out there, which in order to keep people's attention these days, you have to act quickly because with social media as it is and the world as it is, with being bombarded with, what do you want to call multimedia stuff. Sometimes a band like a Sirius Black could be forgotten quickly if you don't keep on top of stuff.
I think that goes for any band these days.
That's
really.
My point. I don't mean specifically Sirius Black. I mean just, entertainment in general.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're right. You got to stay out there. If you don't have a tour going, well, then you have nothing going on. So you put out an album, then you have something out for a bit. You put out an album, you have to go tour. And so that's the cycle, and you have to go going.
Sure. Well, Urban, I got to ask you something. I've been doing this Classic Metal Show for 20 years. I've been in the music business a long time. As far as, I was a big fan of the 80s style music, which probably was the pinnacle of rock, if you will. And, with record deals really not being there anymore and social media being what it is and downloading what it is and so on and so forth, bands like Sirius Black would have a tough time making a living out there unless they're out there really hitting the stages and touring, because I'm sure record sales are not what they used to be 15, 20, even 25 years ago. So what makes you as a vocalist and a band such as Sirius Black take the time and effort and spend the money to make a whole CD, in order to promote yourselves?
Well, there are many sides to this, and there are many reasons why you do it. I mean, one is I always write songs, and I'm not the only one. And when you write a song, you want to actually see it come to some kind of a stage of some kind of a product. You want to be able to show what you've done. And obviously, the best way to do this is to record it. And then when you record it, you release it. So whether or not you have 1 million buyers or 25,000, it doesn't really matter. You write the songs, you record them, and you put them out there. And then on top of that, if you don't do this at all, what are you going to sell when you go touring? T-shirts only? That's not going to cut it. That's stupid. You put out an album, you go out tour. If you want to go out touring, you better have an album, and so on. So, I mean, this is why you do it. I mean, I love the music. Sometimes it drives me crazy, but I still love it, and I can't stop myself from working on it. So
sure.
That's how it goes.
Well, when you're a talented vocalist, songwriter, guy like yourself, that's just in your blood. That's what you do. That is your calling in life, as it were. And you go out there and you perform and you write and you sing and you do all the things that, and I'm not trying to elevate you to some kind of pedestal here, but,
but feel free. I don't mind. Don't worry.
People with a talent for entertainment, be it a vocalist, writer, songwriter, performer, they have a special gift. I've always thought that people look up to people that have a special gift that entertains you, takes you away from the real world, as it were. And I can't blame you for wanting to go out there and continue to do what you do. And I'm happy when some of my favorite performers put out new material, but I feel bad at the same time that there isn't the monetary remuneration there used to be back when there was a real business of music.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd be happy to see more money rolling in, but but we're not doing poorly here. We're actually doing quite all right, and that's thanks to all the people that we've played to before. They come back and they bring new people in, and so we're seeing. We just came off our first headliner tour, and that's normally not a financial success, but it was this time. We made it was successful. We did a good job, and we had lots of fun. We met a lot of people, new ones, old ones, and it's really working. So I'm not complaining at all. We're doing good.
Good. I'm glad.
It could be far worse.
Honestly, I'm glad to hear that, because I know it's a big gamble to go out there and get in a bus or get in a van or whatever mode of travel accommodates you and go from gig to gig or from stadium to stadium or festival to festival, whatever accommodates you. I'm glad to know that a new band, obviously Sirius Black has not been around for 20 years, but that you're able to go out there, entertain the folks, and also make a living doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great. I mean, there's a reason why we're doing this in Europe and not in the U.S. because over here, it would not have been financially possible. There is not enough reward here. So, unfortunately for this market, we're not going to show up unless we get a really good deal somewhere. So, you know how it is. Different places, different, prospects and different possibilities. And I mean, the situation is quite different. So if we wanted to tour the U.S., well, then we're going to break our backs and we're going to come back home broke. So we're playing Europe, and that's where we start. I always say this whenever somebody brings up, we should go tour the U.S. I say, I would love to tour the U.S., I say. And this is within the band discussions. And I'm not the only one saying this. Bob is with me here, too. And we're saying, we can't go after the U.S. We're going to break the band. We're going to totally break it up. It's going to collapse. We can't do it. It's too costly. We don't have the money. Focus on Europe. If we have a chance, an opportunity to go play the U.S., of course we're going to do it because, we have fans here too. And it's a lot of fun to come play to everybody.
Sure.
But it makes a lot more sense for us to focus on Europe. We're doing the tours over there. So if you want to see us, in our proper environment, you just have to take a vacation and come fly over to Europe when we're touring there.
Right.
There is a slim chance that we might find a good support slot in the U.S. and maybe we'll come over. We've had a few options that we've turned down because they would be too expensive. That's really what it is. But like I said, again, I mean, if you want another album out, 2 more albums, 3 more albums from Sirius Black, then you should be happy that we're doing it this way.
Right.
Because if we do this wisely, that's the only way we can sustain it. And this is what we're doing.
Sure. Well, as a veteran musician yourself and someone who actually lives here in the U.S., what do you think it would take in order to make a Sirius Blacks a draw in the U.S. to, get people to come out? Is it obviously commercial radio is kind of a dying medium, and, satellite radio had a pretty good run, but they're not exactly top of the heap anymore. And of course, the internet has come a long way. What would it take for a Sirius Black to be taken, and I'm not trying to make a pun here, to be taken seriously here in the U.S., where people would say, I got to go see that band?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to take 1, possibly 2 more albums, and this is being realistic. The next album or the album after that, and then what we'll do then is obviously not a headliner tour. That would still be too risky. A support slot, a big one, then we can come back after that as headliner. Sure.
Now, what would you consider a big headlining support slot? I mean, like who?
Well, it's really not a matter of who, which of course it is in a way, but it's more like we need to play at least venues that draw 2,500 people.
Okay.
That's about it. Pretty much every night. 1,500, 2,500, something like that consistently, and then we can come back.
Sure. What do you think of veteran bands who have literally been around 30 to 40 years who still have a market because they came up or they became popular in the area of the MTV era or the commercial radio era where maybe some of their songs still get played and they still tour around consistently, but they're hidden in their 60s and into their 70s. But yet the younger bands, like a Sirius Black, doesn't get a shot. What are your thoughts on that?
Quite frankly, I'm just happy for the guys to get to play still. You know, they work hard. I mean, quite frankly, they work hard, and you know, if people want to hear what they're playing, then that's what it is. You know, they should go there. I mean, it's nothing against that. Quite frankly, the opposite. I'm often happy to go see these bands myself. You know, so I'm not complaining. Sure. So
I know
there's nothing. I mean, you can make the argument of come on, retire and make room for the new generation or the next one. I mean, in that case, maybe I should quit too. I don't think that's the case. You know, there's room for everything. It's just a little unfortunate that it's so hard, but you know what? It is what it is, and there's no point whining about it.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to help anyone. Basically, what you do instead is you work hard, you try to do it smart.
Sure, absolutely,
and that's what you do. You know,
right.
Don't break your back. You know, just work hard enough, and work smart.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, what makes the European market so different from the U.S. market to where you can thrive in the European market, but here in the U.S. people just go, who?
Well, obviously, really what it is it's a lot easier to tour in Europe because you can reach all the cities more easily. I mean, it's not the distances aren't quite as great from one city to the next. And also, pretty much anywhere you go, the band will be treated very well. You don't have to worry about food or anything like that. Food, showers, you have everything. You get a different level of service from the venues. So it's easier to tour simply because of these practical things. And if you come to the U.S., well, basically, you're going to either live like a dog the whole tour or pay through your nose.
Sure.
And this is really the biggest difference. You know, you get paid in Europe,
right?
Because while musicians might not have, you know, quite the standing they should have, and they are not asking for the pay they need, even in Europe, at least they haven't quite fallen for this whole trap. That, you know, any sacrifice we make now is gonna be worth it because we're gonna make it big. No, there's a little bit more sensible. You know, attitude towards this, whereas I'm actually doing a job. Give me some money.
Right, absolutely.
And instead, you know, you play in the U.S., you have a different mentality. People are actually expecting you to pay to play because it's, you know, it's your privilege to play the venue. No, come on, I'm providing you with a service here.
Right. Damn those capitalists.
I am actually not blaming the promoters or anybody. I'm blaming the musicians.
Sure,
that's where it is. If you're stupid enough to play for free or to even pay to play, well, then you are perpetuating the problem.
Sure, absolutely.
And this is where, you know, a union could come in handy. However, musicians union, I think the only place I know where this works is in Sweden. So,
right.
You know.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about Sirius Black and this latest release, Mirror World. What's the story behind the title?
Well, the story behind the title is really just it's. When I wrote the song, I was thinking, you know, it doesn't matter how hard you try. You can never get past your own little filter because anything that you pick up, it's like even your vision, you know, it's just a mirror, you know, out of everything else. Anything you see in your head, it's just everything is how you interpret it, how your brain will tell you how it is. So even though, you know, it may be very realistic, it's always a mirror image and you can't get away from it. Right. And so that's really where it started when I wrote the song.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you know, this...
And I just thought that it would be really nice if we could break out from that and actually see the world exactly like it is. And, you know, from person to person, too, also share that stuff. And, you know, that's what it is.
Absolutely. Well, without getting too political, you do reside here in the U.S. and you do have a new CD, obviously, called Mirror World. What are your thoughts on the current U.S. political, you know, environment with, you know, a two unpopular candidates, be it Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and vying to take over the most powerful position in the world? I mean, I'm sure as a European yourself and someone who is a artistic person, I'm sure you have your thoughts.
Yes, I do have my thoughts. And I don't care if I offend anyone, but quite frankly, you may not like either of the candidates. I know I don't like any one of them. It's not like I would actually prefer to see one of these candidates become the president. However, the choice is easy. If you vote for Trump, if you ask me, then you're just so stupid that you should just go hide somewhere. Because if you take a candidate that doesn't even bother researching issues beforehand, if you're just always gonna just improvise, man, you're in trouble. That's how I see it. If you can't be serious about what you're doing, then you shouldn't be there at all.
So obviously, Trump does not mirror your world.
He does not. I mean, obviously, Hillary is also not part of my world. Quite frankly, you look at it like this. I don't believe that there's any politician in any higher position in the world that I would consider to be an honest person, or somebody that's actually doing it out of the goodness of their heart or trying to improve the human race or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that that's not the kind of personality that would end up in that position. So I have very little, trust in any system to work really well. However, I do prefer someone that actually does some research, someone that actually would put in the time and the effort needed to know what the issue is at hand is really about.
Sure.
That's really the only argument I can make, and I'm going I can make other arguments as well, but that's the most important bit. If you can't even be bothered to do some research, if you can't even be bothered to know what you're talking about, well, get out of here. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to listen to you.
I hear you. Well, speaking of, the latest release from Sirius Black, Mirror World, tell us a little bit more about this CD and how it came about, and is there a theme to this CD, or would you classify it as a collection of songs?
It's a collection of songs, and this is done on purpose. If there is any kind of theme, it's accidental, given that some of the songs were written in a short period of time, and obviously, since I write the lyrics, they will come from me. And if I have a certain topic on my mind for a while, obviously it'll taint a few of the songs in a similar kind of fashion. So that's the only theme that's in there. But it's definitely a number of songs, and I think it's a number of good songs. And how it came about is really that we were talking with AFM, and we decided that so we have this tour that we want to go out and do, and we also have the Prog Power show that we did, and we said let's release an album for that, and then we have that, and then we can work from there. And so we started writing songs and looking at songs we'd already written, obviously, and just started working, and that's how we got to this album. We picked we cherry picked really all the good ideas that we liked. We just worked on those, and eventually we had the album.
Sure.
It was a little difficult because in the final stages I actually got sick and I couldn't sing, and I basically had to learn how to sing again, which was kind of scary, but it was, I guess it's a good experience for everyone to know that if something happens to you and you've mastered it once, you can do it again a little bit more easily.
Sure.
If it happens to you and you're out there and you're having an issue with your voice, don't worry too much. You can come back.
Right. Well, speaking of vocalists and people that, have a unique style, how much of a influence is vocalist Johnny Gioli on you?
Not at all, actually. Quite frankly, my first encounter with him was when they released the Hardline album, Double Eclipse. It was Daniel Olson from Ted Morose that played it to me, and that was the first time I heard it. And I've never really thought, much about it. I don't see that we have much of any similarities voice-wise, but I've heard people say it, and I'm going okay, fine, he's a great singer, I love the voice. So I'll take it as a compliment, but it's not really been an influence at all, no. Sure.
Well, he's one of my favorite singers, and when I listen to you on the Sirius Black material, I think, wow, that's Johnny Gioli's double almost at some point, so... But regardless of that, I know that you're a fan of what people would consider 70s prog rock, I guess, be it Yes or early Genesis or whatnot, and I love that stuff too. Probably one of my favorite, even though it's not fronted by Peter Gabriel at this point. One of my favorite live discs from Genesis is Seconds Out. Which I really enjoy quite a bit, which covers a lot of the older Genesis stuff. How much do you think the influences of, say, Genesis or Yes or even ELP creeps into your thought process or writing process when it comes to Sirius Black?
Well, you ask our bass player, and he says, urban, that's prog again. Stop it. And so, but there's just a little bit, just very little. I guess maybe what happens is when I write that there are some chord progressions that at first, glance, they look like, yeah, this is a standard one, but you start looking at the voicings and they're different. Then normally I've had a hand in there, and it's the little prog head in me that goes, okay, I'm going to trick you guys. You're going to think this is a regular poppy kind of thing, but man, here's a little trick or two. If you really look at it, you'll find a lot of little neat tricks, and I do stuff like that. But normally what I do is I just, I cover them up and disguise them as something that's conventional and standard.
It's the trick of the tail, as it were.
Yes, that is what it is. But yeah, normally I would say that most of the really proggy stuff, we take those out of the songs when I've written it, because it's not right for Sirius Black. We may have a surprise or two coming up for you in the future, but that'll be the anomaly. It's not going to be anything we're going for. So.
Well, I'm a fan as well, Urban. So no need to apologize for your fandom of that earlier stuff. Now, when it comes to more keyboard driven, progressive type rock, what do you think of bands? Do you have any thoughts on bands like a Dream Theater?
No, I mean, what can you say? I mean, they're a good band. They write music, and sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes they hit the mark, sometimes they don't. It's just like any other band, Sometimes they hit what I want to hear, sometimes they don't.
Right.
And really, they do what they do, and there's a place for them. There's, obviously an audience. So there you go.
Sure.
It's really good.
Sure. Well, when it comes to other artists, and I'm not trying to detract from, your new disc, but who really is a big influence on you to go, you know what, I really admire or look up to this group or individual artist or whomever? Who would you say is your most influential or your biggest influence?
Oh, that's so difficult. I would say that, from people that really know me, when they comment on songs that I've written, I think that probably I'd have to say Magnum.
Okay, cool.
And that's just because it's like it's subconsciously just seeping into my writing. So little bits and pieces, that has that flavor to it, and that's probably what it is.
Sure. Now, what about this new release, Mirror World, stands out for you personally, looking back, now that it's done and, that it's out there and, it's finished? Looking back, what are maybe some of the most things, the points that you're most proud of?
Oh, this is a difficult album for me to actually to pick things out and just go, this is a highlight. This is something that because I think for having put so much, and of course, if you're looking at the short version of the disc, which I consider to be just a budget cut version, then you don't have so much. But if you look at the special edition, you have plenty of tracks on there, and with the large number of tracks we have on there, I'm saying that the quality of the songs, it's astonishingly high. It's really difficult to pick something that I'm going like, yeah, this is super special. I mean, in a way, then I would probably have to mention, I mean, just because it was the first song that I wrote together with Bob, State of My Despair. I'm not going to say it's my favorite track of the album, because it's not. And I don't think I have one, because it would change from day to day. But that's special just because of that, because it was the first thing we wrote together.
Sure.
So State of My Despair is a little different.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Urban, is there anything else about this new disc or about the band Sirius Black that you want the fans to know about? And let us know.
Well, I can tell you right now that we've already set a date for the next album. I'm not going to tell you when, because that's up to AFM to announce. The date is already set. We have the title track already written. The pre-production is done for it. We have lots of other songs, and it's all, we basically just released this. However, the writing, this is the time we have for writing right now. It's about a month, and then we have other activities. So we're writing like crazy, and it's turning out to be really, really good. It's going to be something very, very special. And to just go back to this album, we are going out on more tours. Don't worry about that. So if you want to see us in Europe at least, you'll see us soon.
Excellent. All right. Well, the new Sirius Black release is called Mirror World. You can go pick it up. Go check out their website over at sirius-black.com. And, drop them a note and let them know you heard Urban here on the Classic Metal Show. So, Urban, is there anything else you'd like to tell the fans?
Well, I would say that if you're in the U.S., it might be actually easier to pick it up from Amazon or maybe AFM directly. It depends, because otherwise we're shipping it out from Europe.
Sure. Well, good for you. I wish you continued success, and looking forward to the new CD. Not that I've even absorbed this one all the way yet, but I'm glad to hear you guys are working and continued success and all that good stuff. So, Urban, unless there is something else, I think I should let you pick a closing song from this new disc and maybe tell us a story about it.
All right. Well, let's make a different, take a different pick here. Let's play The Unborn Never Die. Because it was a little funny how I made the vocals. Normally I record everything from my studio at home. This track, however, has the verses recorded in the kitchen of Jan's studio in the Czech Republic.
Nice.
And they were good enough that I was when I was going to retrack, I'm like, you know what? I could perhaps reproduce this, but what's the point? This sounds good. Let's keep it. I'm just going to retrack the rest of it. And so that was it.
All right. Excellent. All right. As I said, the new Sirius Black release is called Mirror World. And this is a tune from it. This is called The Unborn Never Die, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.